Hey everyone. I am a high school biology teacher, so I chose one of the misconceptions from the evolution unit, which there are many misconceptions to choose from there for sure. I chose that natural selection involves organisms trying to adapt. So, after doing a little bit of research, trying to figure out why students even think that organisms are going to try to adapt. Um, this actually links a couple different misconceptions. So there's an article from Rice University that said that this actually links the misconception to evolution to perfection. So no matter what the environment throws at a population, they are going to try to evolve because they want to be perfect. So it's kind of linking to misconceptions. Some other articles were saying that textbooks themselves have misconceptions in them, and also teachers, the kind of language that they're using when they are talking about these topics can mislead students. There's another article just talking about how there's YouTube videos out there that have misconceptions or just students reading things on social media. And then another article linked to video games, specifically the Spore video game, which came out in 2008. So it's a little bit of an older video game, but it was referencing that one specifically with organisms trying to adapt. I did also find an article that it's not for this misconception, but I just found it interesting because I always think about this with Pokemon. That goes along with the misconception that individuals adapt and evolve and not populations. But I do feel like video games do play a pretty big role in students' misconceptions for a lot in science and also history. And I just want to add just some of my observations just from being a teacher for the past 10 years and teaching biology every single one of those years, and just a lot of conversation that I've had with my students. So they always think about humans. And it's very hard for them to see other organisms' perspectives, of course, because we are humans. And humans can basically survive in anything with our technology. Okay, so there's very little that the environment can throw at us that we're not going to survive. Also, students limited knowledge of adaptations, so they always go with strong, fast, intelligent. Which, if humans try to be these things, they will be these things with practice. So it's really hard for them to take their human observations and link them to other populations in nature. So, an activity that I like to do first is this habitat change formative assessment, just to kind of pull out misconceptions and what students think from prior knowledge. So basically, there's this population, it tells you a little bit about them. They only eat ants, something happens in their environment. What are these individuals going to do? Okay, so the students do choose any that they think are going to happen to the population. And I know one of the resources use these formative assessments a lot. I love these. I try to use them a lot in my classes as well. And then I like to do an activity with antibiotic resistance in bacteria. It's just a very simple modeling activity where the students are able to explain how bacteria become antibiotic resistant. So they have a few things that they're using in their model. And everything represents something. So they represent something in the model. They have bowls, and I do it with M&Ms, but you can really do it with anything. And I linked I'm going to link the document that I use to walk the students through the model as well. But basically, we do always start by talking about what antibiotic resistance is and how that is an adaptation in bacteria. It's a pretty big thing out there in society right now. So they start with 10 blue M&Ms and 1 yellow, and the M&Ms do represent the bacteria. So they kind of figure that out along the way. And then every round, they pull out 6 M&Ms, 6 of the blue specific M&Ms. And then anything that's surviving that round, they're able to reproduce. So they put one of that color back in, since bacteria do reproduce asexually. So they just split into 2. So this is our starting model. And then as they walk through round 2, round 3, and then our last round. So slowly the population changes from blue to yellow. Um, and then just to show you some of the analysis questions, because this is really where I tend to have students have some aha moments, is they walk through these. They do these in their group first, and then we do talk about them as a whole class. So they go through like, did the M&Ms choose to adapt? So we're pulling out the blue. So did the blue choose to change to yellow because they knew they would survive, that those types of questions. And then we talk about how you represent actually the antibiotic. The blue is the bacteria that don't have the resistance, and the yellow have the antibiotic resistance, and how that one M&M had to be there with the antibiotic resistance for the population to even survive. So I have used this activity for many years. I've had a lot of good discussion and results with it. And then I do usually go back to our habitat change and the population of the Devos. Are we changing answers? What do we think now? Can an organism just switch to what they eat when they only eat ants? This is just a way that I like to get students away from this misconception. I hope this helps other people, and thank you so much for listening.